Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Steve Stein. I'm the president of the JGS, and we're glad to have all of you here today, whether you're members or you're visiting. If you're visiting, we invite you to consider joining. Our membership rates are fairly reasonable and then up. So you have some very nice benefits. Check us out on the website and find out more about us. What we normally do at our meetings is for people who are here for the first time to stand up, introduce yourself, and tell us the names of the towns and the families that you're researching. No stories. We don't have time for stories, but if you could just give us the names of the towns and the surnames, somebody in the room might be a connection. So is there anybody here who's here for the first time and would like to introduce themselves? Yes. Thank you. Anyone else?
Nina Edelman. I am researching the town of Balachov, Poland, the name Neubauer.
Hi, I'm Lauren Shapiro. So from my father's side, I'm searching Pruskin from Livashuk, and Shapiro from Kovno and Novoveleko, which is outside of Vilna. And on my mother's side, Epstein and Rudolph from Berezin in Belarus. Thanks.
Anyone else? We got a couple farther up.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Robert Avner. I'm researching the Avners from Stuttgart, and also the Lichtensteins from Stuttgart, and Mahlers from Krakow, and Provers from Krakow.
My name is Sheila Renner. All of my family on both sides came from Pietrków, Poland, and the names I am looking for are Blumstein and Rudolph. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mark Albaum, and all my great-grandparents came from Galicia, in particular, I believe, Dembins. Albaum and Brendler would be the family names.
Thank you.
I'm Linda Mizell, and I'm looking into the Shinskys from Poltava, Russia, Ukraine, depending on where the borders were, and Mizells from Leone.
We have a couple down front, Joy. Joy, down front.
My name is Barbara Title. I'm researching the name Piekarevich from Lomza, Poland, and the name Yedvav from Lono, which is now Belarus.
My name is Rebecca Nastor, and I am researching my father's family, and the last name in Europe was pronounced Knaster, and he was the sole survivor of his entire family on the Knaster side. Lodge.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yes. Okay, you never know. I had one like that at work. many years ago. She's one of my best friends. Couple of heads ups. First of all, as I'm sure most of you know, the IAJGS conference is taking place this year in Cleveland at the end of July, beginning of August. There's a link on our website to the registration page. Early bird registration ends in a week and a half, I think. Also, if any of you who may attend meetings fairly regularly, have writing skills and or photography skills, and would like to occasionally contribute to DeRote as a meeting correspondent or photographer, please drop me an email with a sample at president@jgsny.org. We'd be happy to entertain that. Before I introduce our membership, I always do that, our program vice president, Joy Kestenbaum, who will introduce the speaker, I'm going to introduce Moria Amit, who is going to tell us a little bit about the Institute.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who attended the tour today. I really appreciated your attention and your questions, so thanks, and we hope to see you again at the Genealogy Institute. Just so you know, I am the senior reference librarian here at the Center for Jewish History. For those of you who are not familiar with the Ackman and Ziff Family Genealogy Institute, we are open Monday through Friday, and we help people on a walk-in basis to trace their family histories. So please join us at any point. You don't need to make an appointment. And we also offer public programs once per month. The next one will be taking place on May 15th on how to research New York City building histories. So please take one of our flyers on your way out. We also have an information sheet on the table at the entrance, which includes the Genealogy Institute's hours and contact information and a basic overview of our resources. So please take that. And lastly, I want to mention, in reference to the subject of our lecture today, we are an affiliate of the Family History Library, which means you can access many digitized images from the Family History Library that you would not be able to access from home. We also have over 2,500 microfilms here on permanent loan from the Family History Library. So for more information on how to access both the digitized records and the physical microfilms here at the center, please pick up one of our handouts on your way out as well. Thank you.
And I want to thank Moria and the Genealogy Institute and the Center for Jewish History for co-presenting today's JGS meeting. So before I introduce today's speaker, I would just want to tell you some of the upcoming topics of our meetings, topics of our upcoming meetings. And before I do that, just to announce a talk that will be given here through EVO, which I mentioned at our last meeting, called Leaving Mother Russia, Practical Organization of Jewish Immigration from the Tsarist Empire, 1881 to 1914. The speaker, Anastasia Strakova, is a PhD candidate in history, and she is a graduate research fellow at the Center for Jewish History. So some of you might want to attend that at 3 o'clock, May 9th. Okay, so our next meeting is May 19th. It's called What's in a Name? A Case Study of Rediscovering Jewish Identity on and Off an Unlikely African Archipelago. It's co-sponsored with the American Sephardi Federation. I urge you all to attend. The speaker is Professor Alma Gottlieb, an award-winning cultural anthropologist, who will discuss her research with Cape Verdeans who are reconnecting with their Jewish heritage. That is at 2 o'clock on May 19th. And on June 23rd, Phyllis Kramer will be speaking on death records for genealogical research. So, of course, those are all Sundays at 2 o'clock here at the center. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker, W. Todd Noles, FamilySearch's Deputy Chief Genealogical Officer, who currently serves as president of the Jewish Genealogical Society of Utah. After being introduced to family history at the age of 12, he soon discovered his Jewish roots. His journey to learn... Oh! I don't know how that happened. Sari is talking to me. His journey to learn more about his Polish-Jewish great-great-grandfather led to the creation of the Knowles Collection, which he will talk about. Todd has spoken throughout the world, and his articles have been widely published. Please join me in welcoming Todd Knowles.
Thank you all very, very much. It's been a great day so far. I want to thank you for the tour, and what you all have here in this building is just amazing. And I would love to live here so that I could come here. It's nice to be here today. We're going to talk about using FamilySearch for Jewish research. And I'm going to start with just the very basics if I can. Can everyone hear me okay? I've never been told I'm quiet, so if there's a problem, though, let me know. We're going to talk about just a few things. What is FamilySearch? And then within the FamilySearch, we're going to talk about books, wiki, digitized records, and records. Okay? I think if you can get through these, you'll be able to use FamilySearch beautifully. And then at the end of it, we'll talk about the Knowles Collection. So what is FamilySearch? FamilySearch originally was known as the Genealogical Society of Utah. It was founded 125 years ago in the upper room of that building on the right. It wasn't the whole building. It was one room, and the original collection consisted of about 150 books that belonged to one family. It's grown a little bit since then. We are dedicated to preserving the records of mankind. Our records contain now almost 6 billion names from all parts of the world, and it's actually now almost 5,000 family history centers around the world. And you may not know where it is, but I guarantee you there's one close to your house. About a year and a half ago, I was giving a talk like this. I was in Salt Lake with a group that had come in from New York. And this woman on the front row started arguing with me that we weren't arguing, a little friendly banter. But she was telling me there is no family history center near my house. And I said, I'll bet there's one not far. We can look it up when we're done. She goes, no, there's not one. Finally, his husband kind of tapped her on the shoulder and said, dear, it's in the lobby of the building. I think she finally checked and proved him right. But so 4,800 family search centers. The Family History Library, which houses the collection, has almost 2.5 million rolls of microfilm, 600,000 or 700,000 books, and so forth. And we'll talk about some of those things today. Now, I'm used to hitting myself in the chest here at times, so if you hear Eddie upstairs jump out of the windows because I'm hitting the microphone. But so FamilySearch.org. Let's get through the first problem right off the bat. If when you pull it up, you don't have this same picture, it's not a problem, okay? That is always the first question asked, and it takes 10 minutes to solve this problem. There's like 12 pictures that rotate, okay? It's all the same family search. You just happen to be lucky to get a different picture than someone else. So if you get something other than this, you are at the right place. You'll get access to the same records, okay? So once you're in FamilySearch, it's FamilySearch.org. If you go to the search button where that arrow is pointed and click on it, you get a drop-down box. Records, family tree, genealogies, catalog, books, and research wiki. That's where they spend most of our time here today. some not as much as others. So let's start with books. How many have ever used Family? Let's start this way. How many have ever used FamilySearch? Oh, you warm my heart. How many have ever used FamilySearch books? Okay, it's not as warm, but it's okay. Okay? FamilySearch books is not just FamilySearch. It's archives and repositories now all over the world. There's 20 some odd ones that are adding. What they're doing is scanning their collections so that you can access them here online. Now this is the joy of this. These are available 24/7, anywhere, including your house. So at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep, there are a few of these books I will highly recommend someday for the ones that will put you back to sleep. However, if you need to do that research and you want something to read, they are available 24/7. You know, there is a joy in finding that long lost ancestor, but you can't even imagine the joy when you find him when you're in your pajamas. It just takes it to a whole new level. So, okay, so books. So all you do is click on the books tab. This is so basic, I know. And it brings up this screen. And again, I cut the screen off because it's hard to get on a screen. But these are all the various repositories that are adding it. It's in alphabetical order. We made it through the B's. So Allentown Public Library is probably the biggest one. So their records are scanned, their books, and put into this. So if we just do a basic search where they type in right up there, and all I typed in was Jewish family records. That's all I did. And you'll notice we got 352,000 results. Now, if I'd taken family out of that, we probably would have lost some. But I know you still get well over 30,000 if you just put Jewish family. So that's 30,000 books that are everything to do with Jewish family. And when you get to this point, you have the context of what it is. You have a screenshot of the front page, and then you can click on View Full Text. And we're going to click on this one right here, The Gathering of Jewish Records to Israel. I just picked it as the first one to show you how it is. And you look at that and you say, well, I can't read that. But then you go here to where it says View All Pages, all 16 pages. And you click on that, and it's going to take you one more step. And then you can actually go page by page and read that book. Now, if it's got a 500-page book, it may take a little while to download it. But it's not too bad. So you can turn it on when you're having dinner, and then in the middle of the night when you can't read, go enjoy it. But it's a collection from all over. You can choose them by the author, a location, the language. You can choose by all those things, and it'll bring them all together. And we have all kinds of examples. But I just put a couple in here. Here's the story of a Lithuanian family from the mid-1700s. And you can see how these are these are out of the FamilySearch collection, because there's our call number of the book. If you really have a desire to come read the book in person, we'll make it available when you come. But you can also view it online here. We have actually had a lot of people not too happy with us about this, because it says it takes away from research not being able to smell that musty old book. I told them, come to my house, you can smell all the musty old things you want. But you can actually research this from home just by going on that. And some of the other ones, here's the Jewish history of Oregon. And you can see it came from another public library, but it's now part of our collection, and there's our call number. So they are available, adding constantly, almost daily. You'll see more and more go up. I think from a month ago until Thursday, it went up about 20,000 books. That's quite a collection growing. So that's all I've done on books in here, because it's one of those things, you can change the keywords, you get a whole new set of records. But you can get lost in there, that's my warning, you can get lost in there for hours. And sometimes reading an old history book for hours is not a bad thing. But just know you can get lost in there. Okay, so the next part, FamilySearch Wiki. How many have used this? Not as many as the books. All right. Okay, so FamilySearch Wiki. What is it? FamilySearch Wiki has over 80,000 pages of information, kind of like Wikipedia for family historians. So it's got over 80,000, and all you have to do is you click on Wiki and it takes you to this screen, and right in where that red arrow is, you type in whatever you want to learn about. Now, seeing as we're here in New York, I typed in New York. I may not be a rocket scientist, but I can figure that part out. So, this brings up the title page for New York, United States Genealogy. Gives you a whole list of things with New York in the title. I happen to pick this one. Now, everything on the right shows the categories that we have records for New York. Let me get it right. New York, United States Genealogy. You would not see the blue record type over there if there was not at least one record in there, okay? And if we don't have it listed there, we don't have any records there yet, but when we do add one, it will come up there. So we have all those for the topic. And then the first thing on there is a clickable map, because if you want a specific area of New York, you can click on the county and it'll do the same thing and bring up all those records. Same with Europe and everything else. It starts with a map. If you want to zero in on a little different area, you can do that there. Now, in addition to that, this here I just typed in New York City Jewish record. This goes on about 4 pages, okay? And it's a listing of all the records divided down. Now, this takes you to a link all over the world. Most of the contributors to this are not FamilySearch people. These are people all over the world adding information. Maybe they've gone to research a certain topic, whatever, and didn't find what they were looking for. Well, they went on and opened their own page and started it. You can do that. For example, your Genealogical Society. I don't know if you have a page on there, but you can put one on there and link it out to everything. It's been an incredible source. But you'll notice where there's blue, it's links. And for example, like right there, it's taking you to Italian Gen. Here, it just takes you out to these places. That means there's a website to deal with it. And if you click there, it'll just take you right to the website. So you don't have to sit there and go back and forth between Google or whatever. It will take you to the direct link. It's very nice. It's a great way to stay centered on your research because all these are genealogical related. It will also tell you if the website you have to go to is free or a pay site. Anything that would click like Ancestry is a pay site, and it'll have a dollar bill. Okay. So it just takes you out there and links you in. Now let me show you one, for example, right down here. It really is here. Under New York Immigration, it takes you to the web page of Stephen Morse. Okay? We all know how incredible his web pages are. So all you have to do is click on it, and there's his website. It does tend to save a lot of time because you don't get all the other things. But it takes you right to the website, and you can fully search it right there. So it's an incredible thing. But it will take you anywhere you need to go. It can be added to. These are going up at about 2,500 pages a month. So it's really, yeah, it's been a nice thing. Okay, let's go third to digitized records. Now, this is going to raise a few questions that I might raise, so forgive me. So we go here, and you do the drop-down box on search, and you go to records, the very top one, right here. And that will take you to the records. Okay, now digitized records, and it was explained wonderfully to us about the different levels when we were up in the center taking the tour. But I gotta tell you, it's changed just a bit, but hopefully vary for only a little while. This is Forden in Poland. This is where my family comes from. All these records have been digitized, and up until a couple weeks ago, they were on FamilySearch for free, okay? They've been pulled down, hopefully very temporarily. We have people working on it right now. What has happened, the biggest problem with digitizing records, we have 2.5 million rolls of microfilm, so it's going to take a while anyway. But when we acquired those microfilms, we were filming, you know, some of our earliest films started in the late 1930s. We started microfilming. At that point, no one had ever heard of digitizing. So all the contracts that were written and so forth don't mention digitizing. There's not a word about it. So we are going back and renegotiating every contract to get that approved. 99% of the people just say, where do I sign? They want their records up and so forth. And that's going very good. The problem we have with some records is, A, it's the only copy that exists anywhere. And B, we have a hard time finding who is the rightful owner to get that signature. Well, with these records for Poland, it's just been kind of a, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. There's been a change in management recently at a lot of the Polish archives. So sometimes you get it all worked out, you go there to get a signature, and someone new in charge. So, but hopefully it won't be long. So I'm going to show you what they look like digitized. And hopefully by the time you think to look at this website, or this Ford, hopefully they'll be back up. But it's been an incredible thing to get these records digitized. We'd started it, and we weren't going that fast. We were, it was, but then we had a problem worldwide with microfilm, and it forced us to do it even quicker. It got to the point there was only one company left that made microfilm, and they did not have a tremendous amount of stock. So FamilySearch bought the entire stock. So it's the technology catching up, so we're trying to get it all digitized. We have people, we're doing a ton of it, we really are. But so how he's explained in the tour is right, and hopefully will be shortly. But if you go home tonight looking for one of them and it says it's not available, know that it shouldn't be very long, okay? Does that make sense? All right. I said that now so I wouldn't get an email saying, hey, it's not there. But, okay, so this is Forden, and my arrow slipped, but it's Forden, and all you do is hit search, and this is the library catalog, Family History Library Catalog, and it takes you to the various collections we have for Forden. And the bottom one is Jewish records. I click on that, and then one more step. Okay, and there how it shows the camera on the far right. So this is a screenshot out of the catalog. And where it's got the camera, that means the images are available. Okay? And this is them. So we're working really hard to get these back up. The area above the yellow line, this is 1824. This is in Forden. This is actually the very first marriage record in the Forden synagogue after the taking of surnames. Okay? So it's Joseph Moses Rosenbaum and his wife Rachel Samuel. He was 25, she was 22. His father was Moses Abraham. Her father was Samuel Nathan. So these, that's pretty easy to read. Let me tell you the absolute joy of this. That's my family. But that is my great-great-grandfather's uncle. So those records, when I say they've been taken down, it's not all of them. It's just certain archives we deal with. The Polish records, yeah, they've had to come down. A few others. Most of them are still up there, okay? All right, so then, let's go back to the regular records. So when you go to the Family History Catalog, and you go to Records, right there, you get this screen. Now, there's a couple of different ways to search this. I'm going to tell you the way I like, okay? But that doesn't mean it's always right. So the very first thing you do, you can go on the left-hand side and you can enter a name in. Okay, now first warning, if it's a common name, narrow it down as much as you can or you can be there for hours. 6 billion names, remember. So just enter a name and it takes you right to it, okay? This is the second way over here, is browse all published collections. Now the published collections are digitized or in the process of digitized records. So if you click there, it brings you to this list, Historical Records Collection. This is adding very quickly. In fact, I updated the slide Thursday because it's now 2475. A month ago it was 2418, I think. So the collections are just, they're adding. What it does is up there on the right-hand corner, this is an alphabetical listing. I'm pretty sure most of you won't have Alabama births and christenings, but it's first alphabetically, that's why it's there. So up there where it's got the last updated button right here, if you click on that last updated, it puts them in, then do it one more time. It didn't do it the first time. Well, it didn't do it. I did the wrong screenshot. But anyway, there's the screenshot will have them in order by the most recently updated, okay? So that was my bad. Wow. Can't believe I did that. Maybe I'll make up for it in a minute, it'll be there. So the other way, so you can just browse all published collections, or you can go up to that map and click on the map of the area you want to research, okay? And when you hover over it, it turns that mustardy yellow color. I didn't pick the colors for the record, but it picks that. And if we wanted to search Austria, it would bring a drop-down box of everything that's in there. And so let's check Austria. You click on that and it brings up the record collections, tells you how many records there are in that collection. And if you go one more, you can either do it by collection, or you can, at the top of the page that I cut off so you can see them all, you can put in the name and it'll just search the Austrian records. And then back there's the Austria, Vienna, Jewish registers of birth, marriage and death. And this is what comes up. So this is out of the Family History Library catalog. And if you go right here and click on View the Original, there it is. We haven't had to pull these down. Austria's cooperating with Poland, we're working on it. But, so the original records are right there, okay? Now what does that make sense so far? All right, very good. So let me tell you what this does for us. I like to call this making the world a little smaller. Now, in the digitized records and the documents and so forth, we have some amazing collections that I want to show you a few of them. Hopefully it'll spur in your mind a thought, well, maybe I need to check that or that or that. Okay, now this is the old style, what it used to look like on FamilySearch. And the reason I have this one in here, someone said, well, all the papers I printed off are the old style. So I wanted to show it just so you can see what it looked like. Now you'll see the rest of them in the news. Just the format of the page and so forth. But it's the same thing. So here's Florida marriages, 1830 to 1993. Gives you the basic information over here, including the Family History Library film number that came off of, names, spouses, ages, and so forth. And there's that original record. So it gives it to you a little more detail. He was from Miami Beach, she was from Cleveland. That's where they were living at the time, but then she was also born in Cleveland. He was born in Russia. So it gives you all that information. You have South African family. Here are the civil marriages from South Africa of Barney Cohen and Essie Smolinski, bachelor and spinster. It's nice because it gives you their place of birth. Cape Town and Durban. So, is this anyone's family? A lady promised me I'd ask that every time because it was her family. She goes, so we ask it every time if they're from South Africa and I want to know about it. So, but let me show you a couple of others, and a couple of them are really fun. Massachusetts deaths, that's just one entry on the page. Abraham Cohen, age 15, died in Boston, and then it gives his parents, Lewis and Rose. Now, the next one is maybe my absolute favorite. I spoke in November, I was in Philadelphia, and no one in the entire group knew about this. And it's a Philadelphia record. So it's obviously a record that not many people look at. It's filed in the catalog under Petitions filed in Philadelphia requesting permission for family members to come to America. If we all had this, we would not have to do as nearly as hard work. Once you were naturalized, in Philadelphia, you had the ability to request that your family members could come over and join you. So this is dated 1933. And this young lady here, Flora, with her address, she's petitioning for her father, and here he's listed, who was born on this date at this location. Well, if that's not enough, part of the record was you had to state where you were from date of birth, everywhere you lived up until the day of the request. It's like a road map of their life through Europe. And then, as long as we got dad coming, let's get mom. Where was she born? She lived here, then she lived here, then she moved here, and they are both now residing, and it gives you where they're at. What an incredible document that would be in your family. You could just follow, and you'd know which records to go look at and everything. It's amazing. But no one in Philadelphia knew about it. Don't tell them I'm making fun of them, please. Okay, so let's look at another one. We have all the Canadian passenger lists that identify religion. There's all Hebrew right there. So we have some of the newspapers. This is I cut off the year. That's pretty nice. I believe this is 1890 something. Hamburg. At Hamburg, Julius Cohen of Leeds, and Matilda, the youngest daughter, also of Hamburg. So we have those records. These are all part of the collection that no one ever touches. So easy to go put your name in the main collection, and you're searching 6 billion names, and your people might be there, but they may be, 400 pages down. And by the time you get 200 pages down, you're ready to just throw your computer out the window. So, all right, now this might be the greatest piece of information you get all day. This is the Hong Kong China Cemetery Records, 1820 to 1983. How many of you enjoy traveling? Okay, Travel Advisor does not share this with you, but today I'm going to. Can anyone see the obvious problem here? The first 3 people who died all died at the Shamrock Hotel. If you're going to Hong Kong, it is still open. Think twice about that. Okay? One of them even gave you the room number. If you do have to go there, make sure you're not in room 602. There they all are. I showed someone this slide about, 5 years ago. In fact, it was Steve Morse. And he just started laughing hysterically. And I said, what's so funny? He goes, I was there last month. I was at the Shamrock Hotel. He's one of the survivor stories, luckily. It's an incredible record. Just stay away from the Shamrock Hotel. Now these records, they were the Chinese over there, and I don't read Chinese. I'm taking this on the word of someone who does. The bodies were all moved to a new location. And that's all that information. Okay, now here's another one. The Barbados Church Records. All right. See, I saw it. I saw at least a half dozen people give that look like, why church records? Why could you possibly want to do it here? First off, do we ever check church records for our Jewish family? Absolutely, right? This record is listed as Barbados Church Record. 95% of this is Church of England people who settled Barbados. Okay? I cannot tell you why. I wish I could, but for some reason, it almost looks like a modern day cut and paste. Right in the middle of it, slightly different than everything else, is about 6 sheets of this. The death records of the Jewish community. The page number's not in order or anything. They're just taped in. And whoever did that, bless their hearts. But what it is you have the death records from Barbados, both dates, the name and the age. It's an incredible record. So there's like 10 sheets of these from the Jewish community. Now, you'll see these here all died on the 10th of October, 1780. 54 years, 3, 13, and 25. Any idea what they died from? Good answer. This happened to be one of the greatest hurricanes in history on the 10th of October, 1780. 20 to 30,000 dead, 40 ships, 19 French ships, 19 Dutch ships. But yet someone finally recorded all those, which is amazing. Okay, what other records do we have? There's Argentina census records. This is not going to be a political statement, but you know, here's all the Jews listed as Israelites and all of the Catholics are their servants. But 27 years married and then kids. So it's a nice record. Here is the New Orleans passenger list. If you have Sephardic Jews, anyone with Sephardic Jews, you've got to look at these. You know, it's just amazing. The Sephardic community, there are so many that come up from South America, Latin America, through New Orleans. There are just a ton of them there. And they're identified by religion. Let's see if I can pull it out. It was easier when you have it looking right at you. All right, I'm going to turn off the light till I can show you. Hold on, I know it's, oh, there you go, right here. This is actually the same sheet, it's just so long you can't get it in the thing. But here's a Hebrew right here, from Panama. Okay. Okay, now this will be your quiz of the day. I will not ask you if you did it or not. This is an absolutely amazing record. This is from Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. It's in the catalog of Zimbabwe death notices, 1904, 1975. Who knows what's wrong with that to start with? I have fought this for years and I'm getting nowhere. Zimbabwe didn't start till 1976. It was Rhodesia, right? Yeah, so we're still working on it. But this is, there's good news and bad news with this document. The good news is it was filled out by the person or someone extremely close to the person. This was the record that was filled out when they entered the hospital. Okay? The bad news is the fact that you're seeing it, they didn't leave the hospital. Okay? So, but now look at this. So there was about 10 questions, 13 maybe. What is your name? I'm Harry Rosenberg, known as Harry Rose. I'm from London, a Russian Jew. My father is Harris, my mother Muriel. I'm 36 years of age. I'm a cycle mechanic and a taxi driver. I'm married, and there's the wife's name. This is the date that he entered the hospital. Did I say that right? There's the hospital. Here is his son and his age. Let me tell you what's incredible about this. If someone enters the hospital and they're not married and have no kids, all of their siblings are listed and where they lived in the world. And then it was just some basic questions, okay? But, and he died, what, 3 weeks later. But the most incredible thing about this, and this is your homework, if you go home and find that, some of them have a page 2. And page 2 is just handwritten notes that were on the back of this. But what it does is, if there is a will with the person, it tells you the date and place of probate. So you can go pull the will. I think it's amazing. More Sephardic Jews. Whoop, not that one. We have all the Jamaica civil registration. The Caribbean collection is incredible. The records of the Jews in the Caribbean, and that's a story we could go on for hours about. It's incredible. But here's the birth, the date, her name, parents, so forth, all in Jamaica. Now, here's another one near and dear to my heart. That is my great uncle. Handsome, isn't he? But we used to have this as one file arriving in Brazil. So if you go on that front page and go to Brazil, it's the records of immigration of people arriving in Brazil. And that one file had about 500,000 people in it. Problem is, as we kept filming and filming and filming, we now have 6 collections and it's by port city. And they all have over 1 million records in them. Okay? What this was, If he stayed in Brazil, it was for a week or two. He was an engineer and he was coming back from Europe, ended up in Brazil. So when he got there, he had to fill this out, but he never really lived there. Sorry. Here's his name, Harry Jonas Oser. His residence in San Francisco is where he lived. There's his street address. His parents, Morris and Rose. He was an engineer. And then here's all the information on him. So it gives that incredible information. He has absolutely nothing to do with Brazil. Any other Brazilian record, I would never find him on. But that document of arriving, I do. In fact, it's also got his wife in here and a couple others. But it's an incredible record, and it's great to have the pictures on all of them. All right, let's check the next one. Washington, D.C. marriages. You know, some of them are not as clean to read as others, but there they are. 1892. Okay, now the last one of these I'll show you. This is actually a collection of 3. Well, it's not this one. One after this. We have all the, Italian records. One of the biggest projects FamilySearch has done in the last 3 or 4 years, we signed an agreement where the government of Italy wanted their records preserved. And they were afraid they weren't going to be. So we have been on this huge, all the Italian records, film, the entire country, everything. Jewish records, non-Jewish, everything. But this is one of them that shows, if you can read Italian, these are beautiful records. I can't, so. But so if you go in there for Italy, you'll see just record after record. It's amazing. Okay, now here's a great record. This is why we need to check every database. So here we have the 1920 census from Cordoba in Spain. And here's the family of Judah Cohen, his wife and kids. Okay? Well, if you go back one census, 1908, there is Judah Cohen, an additional surname, Toledano, and wife and kids, 2 kids, the oldest 2. But yet if you go one more to 1904, there she is living with her father. So you've, in that short search of 12 years, 16 years, you've gone from her with her entire family, her with just the first couple, and now here she is with her father before she was married. So if you go through all of you, put it all together, and it just comes along well. Okay, does all that make sense so far? If not, at the very end of this, you'll see my email address. I have no problems with questions, okay? So let's talk about something else that's on FamilySearch called the Knowles Collection. That is my relative, by the way. He's a handsome guy, too. The Knowles Collection started as my own records of my family, okay? I never had any indication it would become what it did, but what it is, it was just something for me to keep track of the records of my family. He was born in 1831 in Fordham, ended up in San Francisco in about 1855. So it was that he knew a lot of languages, but he got to London and English was not one of them. That was his first stop. So in his journals, he talks about 2 families that supported him and helped him. One was the Benjamin family and one was the Samuel family. Well, the problem is if you go to London in that time frame, there's 1 million Benjamin families and 1 million Samuel families. He didn't say which one it was. So I started just trying to dig through each of those families and build it up and build it up. And I was just compiling it all into a single database because I wanted to find out more about him. There's his wedding photo. If I could have hair like that, I would grow it. I would. And then all the records I went through, just as we all do, just searching for him. You know, the Fordham records I showed you earlier. This is that same marriage record. But I just had it as my own collection. Well, the fact he was in England, I decided maybe the first place I need to go is to the Morty collection. Has anyone ever used it? Morty collection. M-O-R-D-Y. I'll show you you'll see the name in just a second. Okay, I have to have a, is there anyone in here who's a mathematician? We got one. Okay, this is just a personal thing and nothing, don't ever let a mathematician touch your family history. Okay? And I'll show you why. Isabel Morty was a mathematician. She was a retired mathematician. She put together this collection of the Jews in the British Isles. Now, she died in 1983. So all of this is done before computers and so forth. The work she did, absolutely incredible. I'm in awe every time I go through it. The records are linked by a numerical code. That's the mathematician part. There's about 7,500 people in the collection. It's very hard to research. I can't tell you how many people have come to the Family History Library wanting to look in the Morty collection. After about an hour, they decided it just wasn't worth it and they left. It was horrible. Here's the index from the Morty collection. Okay. You notice they all have a code number. Isabel Morty, as she put these records together from newspapers, whatever, books she found, anything, and wrote them down, she assigned them to a pedigree. So these were all assigned to the LL pedigree. You have 11.8.2, 11.8.3, 11.8.11. Now you may not know this, but that means they're all siblings. You guys are already tired of the Morty collection, right? Okay, but the reason is the first number, the 11, is the father's reference number in the previous generation. So his reference number was 11. The second number, the 8, is the generation that these people are in. So if dad was 11 in his generation, he would have been 11, or he would have been 7.11. Because the first number is the father's place in his generation, then the generation. The third number is this person's place within the generation. Now, in case it makes sense, let me really screw it up now. Where you have this number here, 1 through, so these two girls are 2 and 3. All the girls, now some generations, you can have 100 cousins. Okay? Does it go in order by family? No. So girls are 1 through 10, males are 11 through 20, girls are 21 through 30, boys are 31 through 40. No one in here likes mathematicians anymore, do they? But no, it's an incredible story. And so you go through it and you have to go through and put it all together that way. And we know they're all siblings because they are in the same generation. Their father was the same number in his generation, and then this is their code number. But if that's not confusing enough, see this code? That's the husband's code. So then you have to bring that in and go through these. So my first accomplishment in life, I think, was it took almost 5 years, but we digitized it, linked it together. So unless you want to smell the old films, you don't have to come do that. But, so this was the index, but then there's the people who don't fit into a tree. I know, it gets more and more complicated. This is out of the index for those people who don't belong in a tree. There's no other family. So in this case, you have Reginald George Davis. There's his date. Or that's his code. He's in the D pedigree. However, his wife, you'll notice there's no code for her. She was never put into a pedigree because the only record in the entire Morty collection of the Lemon family is her and her father. Okay? So there's not really a tree to put them in. Well, when you first look at it, you say, okay, that's, wish there was more of them if that's my family. Again, she did this before computers. She's not Googling anything. So there were so many records that she didn't have access to. So in her collection, where it shows father and daughter, she missed the other 12 kids. This is the 1881 census for the engraver. Whoop. For the engraver here, and there she is right there. These are all of her siblings. So all those were missed. So then I got thinking, well, just in case, now I've got to go and hit all these kids and find them in other censuses and build the trees. So in case there's any record of my great-great-grandfather, I want to find it. Well, the prime example of what happened was a family named Gluckstein. This is a family out of England, originally out of the Netherlands, Amsterdam. But there are 0 mentions of the Gluckstein family in the Morty collection. Okay. Anyone ever heard of the Lion tea houses? That's the Gluckstein family. At one time they had 30,000 people working for them. But if you read the Morty collection, they never existed. So it started with Willesden Cemetery in London. There's Isidore Gluckstein and his wife Rose. Okay. 1861 census. There's Isidore as a son, so now we bring in his parents. Whitechapel, Spitalfield's the center of Jewish London, cigar makers and so forth. 1871, there's Isidore. Right there. Again with his parents. You notice all of them have a lot of servants with this group. 1881, there's Isidore and Rose. So now his husband and wife with their kids. Excuse me, a niece, servants, so forth. 1891, he's now back as a boarder in Brighton. That was the family summer home. He was down there for some reason. I think it was right before his father died. 1901, there's Isidore with his wife back there. And now he's listed as the director of a public company, so which is the tea houses. 1911 census, there they are. His wife is deceased. So now he's got a son-in-law, daughter, 2 grandkids, and 7 servants. Director of a tobacco company. Okay, well then, to keep going and try to hit every imaginable record I could for this family, I did a search of the Lyons Company, J. Lyons and Company, which ran these tea houses. Now, even though the company's been out of business about 20 years now, they ran into problems because apparently the only people who had jobs were the Glucksteins, but by this point all the Gluckstein kids were off doing their own thing. So they didn't pay a lot of attention to the company. But even though the company's been gone about 20 years, they've made arrangements for the website to be continued on, the company records. And so now, anyone who ever worked there, their deaths are recorded. You can see here's all the Glucksteins, all the directors over here. Here's Isidore. Okay. And then I can go to the principal probate, his will. Now he'd already given away a lot of it to his kids, but he still had 68,000 pounds available in 1920. The Grand Hotel, by the way, that's where he died. That was one of the hotels they owned. And now because of that, even though there were no Glucksteins in the Morty collection, in the Knowles collection, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generation. Okay? And what it does, we'll see this page again in a minute. So what is the Knowles collection? It's 6 databases: Jews of the British Isles, Jews of Europe, North America, the Caribbean and South America, the South Pacific, and then Africa, the Orient, and the Middle East. And between those 6 databases, there's 1.4 million people with all their records. They're all linked by parent, linked, family, father to son, and so forth. The records come from over 2,500 different sources, 200 different countries. They're all linked as families. They're all name searchable, and it's all free. So how do you access it? I knew you'd ask. So if you go to the search button on FamilySearch, again, this is a different picture than before, by the way. Go there, and it does a drop-down box, and you go to genealogies. Okay? By the way, I want to point out one thing. Up here where it says sign in to your account or a free account, not one thing you've seen today have I been signed in for. Okay? All available at home. There are some of the digitized records, it will say you have to be a FamilySearch member. That was just something they put in the contract for whatever reason. So if there's something you're not seeing you want to see, you can just start your own account. They're free. No one's ever going to bother you. And you can do that, okay? But everything here has been done without me being signed in. Okay. So genealogies, you go down to genealogies, that's where they put it. Oh, on one screen. Let me go here first, then we'll go through that. There is a blog about it, knowlescollection.blogspot.com. And this little section of the blog, no matter what's in there, will always give the description on how to access it, okay? So if you go to the knowlescollection.blogspot.com and just go right there, it will take you. Even if it changes, that will change. So you'll always have the way to get there. So you go down here, and we're going to switch, and we're going to put a surname in, right here. Put a surname in, and down here, it says all. I'm going to change that to genealogies, because I just want to be in the genealogy section. Community tree section, because that's where they were all put. So just going to go right here, and that drop-down box will put that in. Now, if you put all, it's still all going to be in there. You just may have other things to look through. And when you do that, all the Glucksteins come up. And where there were 0 Glucksteins before, there's now 407. So if it's your family, that's why it is. So, by the way, I have to tell you real fast before I forget why it's called the Knowles Collection. I know it's an obvious thing. I did it. It's got my name on it. I never asked for that to be on there. I think it's ridiculous that my name's on the collection. But I was in London about 9 years ago when we were getting ready to, that was the year the Jewish convention was in Salt Lake City. So I get a call at 4 in the morning because apparently no one I work with realizes there's a time change. And they said, we have that conference coming up. And I said, yeah, I'm aware of that. And they said, well, we're going to post your collection on it. And I said, well, I tell you what, I'll be home in a couple days. I can help you access it if you want. And they said, oh, don't worry about it. We found it. We got it up there. So I'm not a rocket scientist, so I had it saved on my computer under Noles. Figure even I could remember that. So they got the name Knowles Collection because of where it was saved. So, but anyway, so here's 407 members of the Gluckstein family, all in order. And if you go down a page or two, you'll get Isidore. Here's all the basic information: birth, death, his burial, when he was married. Here's all that information. And then if you go one more, there's that pedigree. Now you can't see it all on here just because, if you look up here, community trees, Jewish families, Knowles Collection, this is from the British Isles database, okay? But it's all in here now. Now over here, you have his birth, death, and burial. The number is how many sources there are. And it cuts it off here, but they are all listed here. Film numbers and everything. So if you want to retrace any of them, you can do it with the source. The only time the source isn't listed, a lot of it has come as donations from Jewish families. Sometimes they don't want their information given out. I have it in case we need it, but a lot of them they don't want it handed out. But if they do, then the source will become their email address so that you can contact your cousin. Say, hey, we're the same family, and it'll have the other sources as well, but it will have their email. So there are some people in the collection that now have over 100 sources, and they're all there and listed. The only thing we're hoping soon is we can start putting all those original documents up with it. Right now we can't do that, but that's our goal. So I hope you'll find your family now. I hope it'll help you. I should say this is a living document, if you will, in that it's still added to daily. We're adding probably around 5,000 names a month, adding sources constantly to existing names. And people email me all the time because all we can do is go off the records we have. If a family donates their records and they're not complete, I'm not going to have the complete record either until we can go in and put the other sources with it. But so like Tuesday, I had a lady contact me and tell me that her grandmother and her parents were in the tree. But she says, as long as you have it all there, maybe you'd like the other 6 siblings. And sent me the 6 siblings and sources and everything. So it's being added to all the time. There are being corrections being made, and so forth. And it's been kind of fun. So you can access, there's my email, and there's the blog that will get you to show you how to access the collection. But it's 1.4 million names. I'm hoping by the end of the year it's 1.5. But it's there and it's available, and I hope you'll find it useful. Well, thank you all very, very much. I will take any questions if you want. Sure. Hold on, I don't know if I'll hear you. Go ahead, give it a shot.
Hi, in the Litvak SIG indexing, it often goes directly to the digitized image of a Lithuanian record that was microfilmed by the Mormons. But when you look in the Family Search Index, nothing is listed for Lithuania. What's the status of that?
We're working on, it's been our priority up till now to get them in the hands of the SIG first.
Yeah.
They've got the people with the language skills and the knowledge of the area. So hopefully they'll be in both locations, but it's been our priority to get it in their hands first. We do a lot with the various SIGs, getting them the records they need. We do a lot with JRI Poland. If you've ever looked at JRI Poland and you look at the source information, a good chunk of them, at least half, it gives the family history library film number.
Some go to Family Search and some go directly to the Polish Archive.
Exactly. So yeah, so we're working on it. But until we get it all sorted out, we'd rather the SIG have it where you can access it than, hold it up.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Yes.
Yes, you mentioned the 2.5 million microfilms and that they're digitizing and all that. The buzz that I've gotten from my local family history center is that by 2020, which is next year, microfilms are going to be completely gone and everything. I mean, they're going to be obsolete and everything will be digital. Is that true? Are they moving along on a schedule like that?
It is, with the exception of the ones that we can't find someone to negotiate with, it is. Yeah. We really put such an incredible effort into it when there became no more microfilm. We knew we had to get it all up there. So
2020 is right around the corner.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering if they're going to be able to finish it in that little time.
I think they'll come very close. Yeah.
First, I wanted to just thank you for the presentation.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
interesting and informative. I was just wondering, because so many of these sources are not English language, and in some cases non-Roman alphabets, is there any kind of a Soundex ability to search or
For most of them, no.
spelling?
But what you can do, if you're in one of the records itself and it's written in another language, you can go into the wiki and put in Russian alphabet, Polish alphabet, and it will give you samples of, depending on the time frame, the handwriting and so forth. And that helps.
And sometimes the spelling differs considerably.
Yeah. Well, we have that problem with everything, I'm afraid. But you can find the helps there. And by the way, every one of those databases, those 2,500 or whatever, if you search, every one of those has its own wiki page. It can show you how the record's put together, what the headings at the top can translate to, and so forth. So it does help a lot. Whoever was next. Mm-hmm.
This might sound like a stupid question to many, but the records you have, are they just for the records of people that came over to this country, or records to people still in Europe?
No, they're from everywhere. The question was, do the records just come from those who came here, or are they from everywhere? They are from everywhere. Yeah. In fact, the way you find the records is by searching where they would have been living at the time the record was created. Which makes perfect sense to everyone here, but you'd be surprised how many emails we get about that. If I look for a birth record of a woman under her married name, I'm never going to find it. So somehow that's hard to comprehend. But so yeah, go by where the record was created and so forth. Yes?
It's not on.
Let's try the other one maybe. Sometimes it helps if you just throw them.
It's on.
There you go.
A few years ago, I went to the Family Search Center and I was able on the microfiche reader to find a marriage record of my grandparents. Can I assume that it's now on this website?
Hopefully it'll be digitized on there, yes, but
You have all those records been, or mostly? I know what you just said.
yeah. It is the hope that they'll all be digitized. I don't know that particular one.
Now,
obviously.
how do I find? Do I need the code of the microfiche roll?
You can go with the microfilm number. If you go to the catalog and put the microfilm number, it will bring you up the record of the film. And then at the side, that little key at the side where it's got the camera and stuff, just click on the camera and you'll be watching, you'll be looking at the actual.
If I don't have the number of the microfiche.
Then do it by location, wherever they were from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. By the way, I should point out real fast that this Hampson couple over here are volunteers at the Family History Center in Manhattan, right? What's the address? Okay. Go in there and hold them accountable and say, I need help. They would love to help you. There you go, across from Lincoln Center. Yes.
Wait, we have a microphone.
Let's wait for the microphone. Hang on. Oh, was there another
So
question?
this is another update question. What countries have been not, I understand they may not be available at this time, but what countries or gubernias or whatever, in what time frame? Is there a way to find out what is available?
The easiest way is to go right into the catalog. For example, put Poland if you want, or put the area, and you'll notice the dates on the records. Some are, they're all different. They
And
are.
the geography?
You could go into the wiki and put records in Poland or record, and it'll show you. Absolutely. I know it's kind of a vague question, but I'm not sure. Now hold on, I had someone right here, right up there, about 8 rows, but I'm not counting.
Hi, I'm sorry, I came in late.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are vital records in Romania also being moved from microfilm to digital?
Everything eventually is, knock on wood. If they have been moved yet, I don't think Romania has. But there is a Romanian SIG. I know a couple of the people running it, and they have incredible records and stuff. So if you go on Jewish Gen to the Romanian SIG, I think you'll get the answers you need. Yeah.
How did you find your relative in London? You had mentioned something about the Benjamin family and the Samuel family.
You know what? I never did find him there other than just the notes he made in his journal. And I have a son now named Benjamin and a son named Samuel.
Oh, hi. Just for clarification.
Yes.
About the overlap between the efforts of the SIGs and your efforts.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm quite familiar with the way JRI Poland operates. Yeah.
Oh, the SIGs. The
Yeah.
SIGs are done through Jewish Gen. SIG is a special interest group.
Right.
They have a specific area that they're interested in, and they focus on that incredible. They are incredible.
My question
Yeah.
is, though, JRI Poland in particular, they're going into the archives, they're actually digitizing records. And they're also drawing on your records. Are those separate activities? Their digitization of your records and the records they're digitizing directly themselves?
Well, we have, up until they pulled them down, we had all of, like, the Polish records, we had them all. I showed you the example. And Jewish Gen was using that. They were actually doing the indexing, though, and everything else. They have the knowledge, the language knowledge, and the area knowledge. They were wonderful. And now, because we've had to pull them down, they've kind of stopped there. But they are getting them from the other archives as well. So I think, hopefully they're able to take advantage of what everyone else is doing. Digitizing records is expensive. That's why we try to keep an eye. If we can help, the Lithuanian SIG, giving them the records, it's a lot better to have one source like them digitizing them or indexing them than us having them and they're not going anywhere. So we try to work as best we can. But there are some some places that are sourcing multiple, so, yes.
At the beginning of your presentation, you showed us the books, and you gave an example of typing something into the search bar, and a bunch of books came up. My question is, how is that indexed? Is it by title or by? I'm assuming it's
All
not
of the above.
It's not full text search.
All of the above. If you look down, once you put a book in, if you look down the left-hand side, you can then index it by location, by the author. I did it just by keyword.
But it's not full text search of every.
No, not
word
yet.
in the book.
Hopefully someday, but no. But the actual book, no.
Both of my grandparents had their grandfathers had their names changed when they came to the United States. One of them was from a shtetl that he told me was in Poland, and it turns out to be now in Belarus. Is Family Search flexible enough to deal with these kinds of geographic and nominal anomalies?
I don't know if anyone really is. In the wiki, it will describe it to you, but you need to see I had a gentleman in the family history library the other day had his grandfather's birth, marriage, and death records, all with the same street address, all in a different country. You just have to kind of go by the date when the record was created. What would it have been? And the wiki will help you with that, or some of the gazetteers. If it was 1920 in this location, what country would have been? And then the catalog will go by that. But we always go by where it was when it was created. Okay? Yes?
Back to the question about JRI Poland. They are not themselves going in and copying the records. They have a contract with the Polish government who is digitizing the records, and the contract calls for JRI Poland to index them. And in order to index them, they need donations from people who are interested in specific areas.
They are incredible. If you've never used JRI Poland, I highly recommend them. It stands for Jewish Records Indexing. But if you go into like Google and type in JRI Poland, it's always the very first one. Okay? Yes, I got someone right up there.
I'm interested in searching records that were created by the Grand Duchy of Courland, which has long since lapsed into history. Can I use Courland as a way to find those records?
Possibly. I would try it in the catalog. If that doesn't work, go to the wiki and see what those records would be under now. Use the place name. And those are by far the easiest way to do it.
So you can't find records that were created by the geopolitical entity when it did exist for all of its territory, irrespective of a place name.
Yeah, hopefully it's also done by the actual place name.
But you have to know the place. You'd have to know the place name.
Yeah, that's true. It does, on some of them it's hard to do. The catalog always goes from smallest to largest. City, county, country, or state, country. You just have to try to narrow it down as far as you can. We have an answer for that right here. Absolutely.
How is it determined which records go to Ancestry as
Where am I
opposed to
looking?
you?
Hold on here.
Am I talking?
I hear a voice, but I don't see it.
Okay, right here.
Oh, right there. I'm
right
sorry.
there.
I'm sorry.
How is it determined which records go to a company like Ancestry as opposed to you, and what is your relationship with Ancestry?
There is
There's
really
a subsequent question. Are you involved at all in Reclaim the Records? That's an organization.
I support Reclaim the Records
Right.
completely, absolutely.
Okay.
But
So
we're
that's
not,
primarily American.
Hmm?
That's primarily American records.
Right. Ancestry and Family Search and MyHeritage, all independent companies. Do we have some of the same records? Absolutely. Pardon me? They charge, we don't. I'll say that 3 or 4 times. We don't. Even if we have the same collection, they probably have different indexers than we do. So you may get different results on a couple of those. Ancestry, I don't even remember what year they came out, but you know, Ancestry and FamilySearch are located about 30 miles apart. So if I ever go into work one day and someone who used to sit by me is not there anymore, I call Ancestry to see if he's working there. But so it's deciding who gets what database. It all depends on who goes out and acquires it or whatever. Most of the FamilySearch databases, at least, I mean, for the first 100 years or whatever, when we would go into microfilm, we were always invited to go into microfilm because, you know, microfilming collections of records is expensive. So a lot of places couldn't afford it. So the agreement we made is if you let us come and microfilm it and use it as part of our collection, when we get done microfilming, we'll take a copy and we'll leave you with a copy. It's been wonderful in certain things, like about 10, 12 years ago when there was the earthquake in New Zealand, Wilmington, New Zealand. The archive was based right over the records. Most of them were lost, the records. So what they did, like 2 or 3 days afterwards, they called FamilySearch and said, do you still have the records? We said, we do. And as soon as they let us know they had somewhere to put them, we just sent them a whole brand new record set. So we're able to preserve them. That's, you know, kind of what we do. But Ancestry has some we don't have. We have some they don't have. And then there's some that are just indexed differently. So, yes.
I had accessed a few records from Crimea a few years ago. I was not able to view them at home, and even when I went to the library, I was not able to download the images. I think I checked it recently, and it looked like it had changed. And is that something that would have changed due to your negotiation?
Yes.
And if so, in Crimea, who the hell were you negotiating?
I wish I could answer that one. No, that is exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. We have to find out who's in charge of them and negotiate with them. So, yes.
I know you answered it. May I not speak? I know you answered it, but I'm still a little confused. My grandfather was born in Lemberg, Poland.
Okay.
The city changed to Lvov. Now it's Lviv. It's part of Ukraine. Am I searching records from city or country or name? How do I'm
yes.
confused.
All of the above. I know that's like a lousy answer, but yes, you need to search all of them because some records, even today, some records are on a city level, some records are compiled on a county level, maybe a district level. So you need to search all those places you can. To be exact, that's why we talked about like church records. If I'm searching for my family in Poland, I'm going to be in Catholic records as well. Because the Catholic Church, being the government church or whatever, had the responsibility of recording birth, marriage, and death. Doesn't mean our Jewish families ever became Catholic. It just meant that the Catholic Church was doing their job and recorded them. So you can find them in both places, even though, you know.
So I look under Poland and Ukraine, both records?
Yeah. Very true. Very true. I see a hand waving.
I have a technical question. How do you make sure that you don't miss a page when you digitize these thousands and thousands of pages, that you don't accidentally miss a page?
We wait for someone to notice it and call and say, what have you done now? No, I mean, obviously that happens. But we do have checks and balances, hopefully, especially when we index. Most everything is at least a double blind index, meaning 2 people are indexing the same record. And then they take a sample of that and put it in. And if the third person goes in and thinks, and the first 2 match up, we'll take that. If it doesn't match up, then we're going back in and looking at it again. But yes, you know, problems like that happen. If you find one, just let us know and we'll do our best.
Good afternoon and thank you.
Hi.
I had a question regarding. Sorry, I had a question regarding one of my grandmothers. I'm trying to locate her naturalization papers. There was a name change, several name changes, but I believe she became a citizen after in her married name.
Okay.
And the reason why I believe that is because there are numbers over the original shipping list above her occupation that has a date as well as a series of numbers. Right, but I was told it was a batch number and you...
That would have been the actual record, I think, is what you're describing.
So how do I go back and find that? Well, I've tried that.
You didn't hear this from me, but go to Ancestry.
Yeah.
I use Ancestry all the time. Go to Ancestry into their naturalization records. And sorry, if you recall how she was in there, put that name in and see if it can take you to where you need. You know, whatever you recall of that. If you don't recall it exactly, you may go through a few records, but what you recall, use that and see if that'll take you there. Yeah.
In New York.
They're all indexed by name. You can get right to them pretty quick.
Okay, I haven't had success.
Okay, if not, there's the email. There's the email.
I had a comment and a question. First, in relation to the Ancestry records and FamilySearch records, I've often found that it's been very helpful to look at the FamilySearch as well, because sometimes the indexes on FamilySearch, I think in particular the New York death records, have the parent's name, whereas the Ancestry records do not. That's been very helpful. Oh yeah, and cemetery, yeah. The question I have is, you mentioned the Knowles Collection is sort of an accumulation of records from different sources. To what extent do you verify the accuracy? Like, for example, the person who contacted you gave you names of other siblings. Is it based on a record or just oral?
If it's a record we have that I've added on my own, we verify from the original record. When someone donates a record, we do go in, and once we have it there, we try to add the other records to go with it. But that's why we put their email on there, because some of it, there's not a lot of them, but there are some where you just have to say, they obviously know their family better than I do. We do try to verify with other records, but the email's there so you can contact them and say, I don't have this information, just wondering where you got it or whatever. But I lost count of how many people have emailed each other, met new cousins and so forth, and shared the information. So it's been good, but sir.
So you have two types of digitized records.
Okay.
Records I can access from my own computer at home.
Right.
And then digitized records where now I have to go find a library and travel there to look them up on those computers. Is there a reason for that? And how do I find those centers?
It's all because of restrictions placed on by whoever we acquire the records from. Once they get this contract renegotiated, hopefully it'll be one source of records that you can sit at home and do. But it's just until we finish that negotiation, what we're allowed. Some places, like I mentioned earlier, we have some people who say, well, I only want FamilySearch people to have access to it. Well, a FamilySearch account's free, so that doesn't limit anything. So it's just different restrictions. Some people say, well, I only want people in New York. Maybe it's a collection of records from New York. I only want New York to see it, but very few of those. And eventually they'll all be available the same way. If you go on like in the wiki and put in family history centers, it will narrow it down by address and stuff. And if you can't find it, I have to keep turning it down to make sure I haven't messed up my email. So.
This is a little maybe off topic, and I'll be happy to speak with you afterwards.
Okay.
But I'm very frustrated trying to find my great-grandfather in the English census, 1871. Are there any tricks for using English census records?
It's like any other. Were they born in England? Because there's your problem. It's like any other record. You have a Yiddish or German-speaking person telling the Irish guy how to spell his name. We got any Irish in the crowd? Are you an Irish mathematician? Okay. Then we're okay. No, and I mean, that's the problem anywhere. You know, you have, pardon me? Yeah, and so you're going to have to just play with the name. You know, you can go on websites and put in like the first couple letters and then an asterisk. Just start playing with it, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just have to start playing with all the options, and or email me. Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry. In the beginning, I mentioned a bunch of names and towns for my family. I forgot about Astrakhan in Russia. Okay, just in case Shapiro with a Z.
Yes, great talk. Thank you very much. I'm curious about, I know a question was asked about the relationship between the records on Jewish Gen when they give a number, catalog number for Family Search, and then you go to the catalog number and you try to find a record. In my case, my paternal family comes from an area of Hungary that's now Slovakia, and they actually have the numbers on the Jewish Gen Hungarian SIG records. But then when you go to a Family Search, and I can find like the town and the location of the 1869 census, but then there are like 500 pages, and it doesn't give you the exact page that those names are on, and and I'm wondering if there could be a way to link that information better, so that the exact page can be given.
Hopefully there would be. I mean, we try not to step on Jewish gens, right? Because they are incredible. Don't get me wrong, they are incredible. But until we can get to a point where, and I think it will happen, where the records they do index will have on our site, anything they don't have that we have, they'll have on their site. You know, I just have so much respect for what they're doing. Until that point, what you kind of have to do with most of those records is they are in date order. If you have a general idea of the birth date, for example, of an ancestor, go to wherever that is on the film and work from there. You can usually narrow it down pretty good.
Last question.
This isn't a question, this is how to find it. If they are the Polish records, even though today they're in Hungary or someplace else, they are in paragraph form. After each year, there is an index. So when you find the year, or you have an idea of a year span, you go into the microfilm that has that and look at the index, and the index will tell you what the record number is for that year.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Todd. And we hope to see you next month at our May meeting.